We would like to go ahead and call our meeting to order, please. Very good. Okay, I am going to actually do a roll call as well, since several of us are calling in on other lines. So Laura Dominic, I am here. Paul Callahan, I see Paul online. Here. I see Conrad Lamb, our new member.
There.
Welcome, Conrad.
Thank you.
Karen, I see you're on the line, yes?
Yes.
Okay, and John as well is on the line.
Yes, correct.
Okay, very good. We are called to order and we've had a quick roll call. So first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Could I get a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
So.
In a second?
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes as written, please say aye.
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 I don't think there's anyone opposed, but if there is, please say nay. Okay, very good, motion passes. Conrad, again, we'd like to welcome you to the group. And if you want to just give us a little brief information about yourself, we'd love to get to know you a little bit.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised at 2639 Blue Ridge, which is within this district. I still own the house and the house next to it. My daughter and granddaughter live there now. I retired from the City of Lee Summit 2 years ago as the finance director after 36 years. So I worked on a few 353s at Lee Summit. Probably the biggest one was John Knox Village. So glad to be a part of this.
Well,
Well,
I would
welcome.
say John Knox Village supersedes our area by probably a little bit with all the housing they have there. So we welcome you. We're going to appreciate your input and your knowledge. Feel free to guide us as you see fit if you see that we've missed something. And Conrad, just quickly, did you receive the link that I sent to you for Dropbox?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
Okay.
I suspect now that I asked that question and you say no, I suspect I might have forgotten to send that. So my apologies. I will send that to you.
Okay.
It will be a link into the Dropbox where we have all of our primary documents, including our plan and our guidelines, application forms, information, all of that type of thing. So I will get you invited to that, so you'll be a part of that and can do any reading up as you would see fit. So again, welcome to the group. On to old business, the incorporation status. I did not get a chance today to contact the Secretary of State for the state of Missouri. I apologize. I was going to give them a call. As I indicated at our last meeting, we do have a number assigned to us, which means we're in the queue to have our information, our articles of incorporation read and approved. So we're still waiting on that. I am continuing to follow up on that, but I know they're just really behind with COVID and some of the other issues. So I will get information to the group as that comes in. Under marketing plans, I was speaking with Jordan, and I want to say it was, 3 weeks now, maybe, Jordan. There was a presentation done at the board, or excuse me, at the city council study session, I believe it was, that used a program that I won't be able to remember the name, but it's kind of like a cartoon doodle type program. Maybe that was a little more cute than it is. It's but it's just kind of a way of laying it out, you know, with some like kind of basic graphics that I thought would be interesting to use, because it's not interactive in the sense of it's not a question and answer type thing, but it's kind of pictures and showing how this works, to give people an idea who don't have, maybe the first, bit of knowledge on a 353. So Jordan and I and another woman in her department, we're going to take a look at that and see if that's something we could work on. We would have a link to it on onto our part of the city's website that would have that little kind of graphic, basically. So we're going to be working on that. Then the next item would be the suggested wording changes to the city's website that I sent out, had Jordan send out with the invitation. Are there any? I have not received any individually, but I was just calling out to see if there's any suggested changes or corrections, additions, deletions that anyone has regarding that wording.
Well, I just had one thought. In the paragraph under the first one, under frequently asked questions, when there is a description of the abatement program, two things.
Okay.
One is, I was wondering, the third sentence that starts a certificate of abatement, comma, issued upon completion of improvements.
Yes.
As we've discussed, it's not just improvements, it's certain improvements, correct?
It would be, yes, it would be the improvements that have, that, as, kind of, just to kind of back up to, we have the 3 tiers. So if they've put in 10% on the first tier, then, and they've completed that work under that plan, have met the requirements of the guidelines, for instance, the must-dos and then the optional items that, we've approved. Basically, they will not get a certificate of abatement until they have met all of the guidelines. So the guidelines would lay out what improvements are allowed to be counted against that and that type of thing. So, basically when I say that you've completed the plan, you have your certificate of abatement, we've approved everything, and that's kind of the check mark that you're approved for that.
Right, but my concern is someone reading that would think, oh, okay, yeah, because I was gonna go ahead and paint the interior of my house. That might be an improvement. And that's not the type of improvement we're speaking of, right? We're speaking of the improvements on the must-do list, correct?
Well, painting the interior of the house may be something that we would consider in the base amount of abatement, which is like, say, for instance, on tier 1 is 10%. If you say you only had one item on the must-do list of 5 items, and that only cost you, say, 5%, not up to 10%, but you made other improvements internally, interior to the house, and that type of thing. Those would count towards the amount to get over that 10%. But as I, everything would have to be, again, in accordance with the plan, which we refer to in that first sentence. So the plan then refers to the guidelines. Everything, and keeping in mind that the amount of abatement is not dependent on the amount of dollars they spend, unless it just has to be at least 10%. So let's say 10% is $10,000 for the sake of discussion, and they spend $10,005, then they have met the requirement. If they spend $11,200, they've met the 10% requirement.
Right, so, but that's what I'm speaking of. What I'm speaking of is there are certain improvements, as we've discussed, that are on the must-do. In order to start the abatement compliance rolling. We know, yes, you can add on other things, but there will be no abatement at all unless you have included in your improvements something from the must-do list.
Karen, are you looking for wording changes that suggest like issued upon completion of improvements in accordance with plan provisions?
Well, when I look at the program guidelines, which I think states it clearer, is that it is for improvements that redevelop or rehabilitate in accordance with the plan and its guidelines. I would like to see that in there so that people just don't read this on the website and think completion of improvements. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so we can easily add the language, kind of like Paul suggested, issued upon completion of improvements as required by the guidelines,
In
the
accordance
plan
with
guidelines.
the plan and the guidelines.
Yeah, yeah, we
Because
can add that.
That
Yeah.
lets a property owner know up front that, you know, it's not just landscaping, you know, that there's some things I need to look at in the plan and guidelines before I start getting all excited, so to speak, about this program and its applicability to me. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, we can do that. And, you know, and then it, you know, as it goes along down at the bottom, it says, you know, where can I get answers to my other questions? Please see guidelines for answers to other questions regarding inspections, minimum investments to obtain an abatement, that type of thing. But we can insert that at the top so that it's clear that this is not just a kind of a free-for-all, you know, this is a definitive plan with definitive guidelines that have to be met. So yeah, I can definitely add that. Good
And
suggestion.
then secondly, the abatement, if it's approved, the favorable tax consequence is going to be on, you know, different amounts of the improvements, the approved improvements, not just as some might think, I don't have to pay property taxes, you know, for the next several years. And I know you state here at the bottom of that paragraph, that same paragraph, for the except for the assessment on the land. In our discussions, we called it, we noted that it would be on any beneficial tax consequence would be on only the approved improvements, right?
Well, let me address, first of all, like you said in that last sentence there where I said, you know, your sentence that you're referring to, certificate of abatement, and then it says, entitles property owners to receive abatement of up to 100%. So up to, not 100%, it's not 100% of, you know, unless they meet those requirements, 100% of property taxes, except for the assessment on the land for 7 years. So we don't want people to think that the value of the land, there is nothing going to be abated related to the value of the land. The land stays as it is. So I didn't get into the 3-tier discussion in this paragraph. And the reason I didn't, I was talking to Jordan about, I'm always concerned from a legal perspective or a compliance perspective when we have the plan document, which discusses the tiers. Then we made sure that the discussion of the tiers and the guidelines mirrored exactly what was in the plan. I don't like to then try to sum up the tiers again in different wording. They need to go to the document to read those tiers. So I just basically said up to 100%.
Oh, yeah, no, I think that wording is terrific, that up to. That's very clear. Anybody would understand that. My question is on assessment, except for the assessment on the land. Hypothetically, if I'm paying $50,000 hypothetically in my personal property tax, and I do a $10,000 improvement that has been approved for the abatement program. I am only going to get that abatement on the 10,000. Isn't that what we're trying to say? That you're not gonna no longer have to pay property taxes at all? Am I correct? Am I understanding that?
No. Yeah, no. First of all, the only way to not have to pay property taxes at all on the building is if you raise the building and build a new one that's worth 100% or more of what the value was when you demolished it, per se. That would only, but even in that situation, you are still going to pay property taxes on your land. This is not an abatement of anything to do with taxes on the land.
Mm-hmm.
I think is one point of what you're asking. I think maybe another point of what you might be asking is going back to the example of, let's say the tier 1 requirement is to invest 10% of the current value of your home, let's say, right? And that 10% is $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get an abatement. Basically, if you spend the $10,005 or you spend $11,800, let's assuming this does not break you over into the 25%. So this is not tier 2. We're still in just tier 1 at over 10%. Yeah. Right. Then the amount of your abatement, the abatement that you're getting is basically a freeze on the value of your property. It doesn't matter if you spent $10,005 or $11,008. It's the value of your house was $100,000 at the time of the start of the abatement. You spent the $10,000, the 10%, or you spent 11%, 12%, 22%. Your property value is going to be frozen at the $100,000 for 7 years. Does that? I just want to make sure that we're not.
Yes, I agree, Laura. I just don't know. I mean, your explanation is perfect. I just don't know if it comes through.
Yeah, the wording's there.
And maybe it doesn't matter. Again, maybe if someone has a question that says, well, what do you mean, except for the assessment on my land, they can contact the department or the city to clarify it, as you just did. I just thought that the clarification could be worded there. If I can clarify it.
I do. No, and I do understand what you're saying there. I just personally, and I am not opposed to making any wording suggestion, additions, or deletions that we agree to. I just don't want us to get too wordy here. A list of short, frequently asked questions doesn't mean we're not answering all. Just your frequently asked. So if people read through this, they get to the bottom, and we're going to have a link to the guidelines, and they think they're interested, but they don't really understand that piece about the land or something like that. I think that also is kind of by design helps them to contact us so we can explain it, so that we can quote get them in the pipeline, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't want to. You know what I mean? Like we have, 10, 20, 30s of pages of guidelines that I don't want to have to summarize all here, I guess. But I'm open to, like I said, thoughts of the board. I mean, however you would like to proceed, I will do.
Okay. No, that's another, good way to look at it. That, and I tend to agree with you. If reading through this on the website, someone is interested, sure, after going through this, any questions that they might have,
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And like I said, I go back to that first comment, is that I don't like to try to summarize things that we then could end up with a conflict of wording, you know, because we tried to give an example over here that made it more confusing or didn't tie exactly with the guidelines. So I kind of wanted to keep this, you know, on the brief side to avoid those conflicts too. But I appreciate your thoughts, because I do understand that we know this much better than, well, we know this better than most people in the public because they haven't read this yet, you know, type thing. And I would have questions, you know, on it. So I do appreciate the concern, absolutely.
I think the reason I probably lean towards, I won't say transparency, but user-friendly language is because this is, when I look back again, going back to the survey that was done, and based on the average income in independence, this may not be an easy sell, as opposed to,
right,
say, Lee Summit.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And so I guess I just want to make it as easy as possible for people to understand just the basic of what they're looking at, as opposed to them, as I said before, thinking, oh, this might be a good idea, and then finding, oh, but wait a minute, I have to do this, I have to. So that's why I wanted that cleared up, you know, and I thought it could just be done with a few words, like I said earlier, just to add in, which is the same language we use in the program guidelines, that the improvements are based on redevelopment and rehabilitation in accordance with the plan, right, and its guidelines.
Yeah, I'll add that in so that we
Okay.
So we have that piece of it. And I think you know, even as myself, having, you know, I'm a former CPA, and I know I had read these documents. I don't know how many, you know, times that had more questions every time I read them and everything. So I do understand that it's convoluted, I would say. You know, I mean, it's a difficult concept, you know what I mean, if you haven't been exposed, you know, before. But I also think too, like I mentioned, kind of that kind of like doodle type, graphic type picture of, you know, if you own a property between here and here, you know, and some of that kind of, you know, for visual people who can kind of start to understand the visual of what does that mean, and then they contact us, and then we help them with the understanding of the, you know, of the specific. Yeah, kind of like you would as a tax accountant. You know, you might hear something in the news. Oh, I've heard I can deduct such and such. Well, that's how your accountant is. Fill in the blank. So, but yes, we will I can definitely, and I agree with you on saying in accordance with the plan and the guidelines. Definitely.
Okay, I won't take up any more time.
No. It's not taking up
That's
time.
good.
That's what we're here to do. Yeah. Any other suggestions or thoughts? I do want to say that I had discussed with Jordan about whether or not we would actually put on here, you know, where I say insert links for the residential and multifamily / community, or multifamily / commercial, excuse me, guidelines here. I do think it's good that we have the guidelines here for those who want, like myself, would want to read deeper, you know, into it. We did decide, if it's okay with the group, that we did not want to put the applications on here, because again, this is where we would like to bridge them over to talking to us, instead of someone prints an application, fills it out. Again, they're not aware. Oh, I didn't know that I needed to, you know, follow one of the 1 through 5 requirements or something like that. So we want this to be get a lot of information if you want a lot of information, but if you don't, you can just call and get a hold of us, or, once you have all that information, please reach out to us so we can start you through the application process, get you on a timeline, for check marking all the boxes and that type of thing. So unless there's any other discussion on this, I'd like to make a motion to have the city change the wording on the website to reflect this language, including the revision that Karen has suggested. So I'd like to make that motion for approval to the group. Is there a second on that?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone not in favor? Very good. Motion passes. I will work with Jordan on getting that over to the IT department to see when they can get that up. What I'd like to also say would be to Jordan is once that information is up and we, had a quick chance to proofread it, I'll take a, good quick look through it, make sure we got all of our links working. That then we go ahead and I will work with Jordan and Meg Lewis to get information out on the social media platforms of the city. I think, it's definitely time for us to move that forward, and we'll get that into her schedule of social media postings and that type of thing, depending on what, what else is working in the city. So we can start getting that word out and getting more, start getting feedback, start getting people into the pipeline. So then on to the next item, continued discussion on a brochure or handout. I have to say, I apologize, Paul, you sent me a copy of what you had been using as a handout, and I in delinquent in getting to looking at that. I don't know if there are any other thoughts on that, and how we can move forward on that. And I'm sorry, Paul, I think even that was just sent to Jordan and myself, maybe not onto the group for a look.
Right.
Okay.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Let me do just a little quick looking at that. I think it is probably very straightforward. Or Paul, if you want to even kind of walk us through. I apologize.
Silly me. I actually thought what we've been discussing for the last 15 minutes was in lieu of that, and that if someone, a potential homeowner or landowner wanted to make improvements or was making improvements, we would hand this flyer to them, which kind of just gives them an introduction and what to do next, what steps they can take. So that's actually what I thought this was in lieu of what I had sent you and Jordan at the last meeting.
Well, and I think now that you say that, I think first I apologize for the confusion, but I think this may be good. It has it is.
I gotta tell you,
something in conjunction with the website. If we can have a handout, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And I think Laura, the way Laura and I had talked about this, just so everybody's on the same page, is this frequently asked questions in this document that we're reviewing now will be the basis for, I think, a physical handout that you guys can hand out. You would obviously be able to also hand out the link to that web page too that would have this additional information. So I think the way we're thinking about it is a lot of this language will be helpful moving forward for those physical brochures, as well as some of the social media posts that will be coming forward as well. So
yeah, and I think that again, as we as I mentioned, talking about once you start to have multiple documents and multiple phrasings, now that we've kind of approved this language here, since it is a 2-pager, which would be more than the size of a brochure per se, or a 1-page, that I'll work to kind of narrow this down even a little more, to, like, for instance, the question, can I do the work myself? Well, that's probably not the first question that you would have when someone's presenting to you, hey, I see you're adding on to your house, or, you might be interested in this. So let me just kind of work on like paring it down to a one-pager type thing that then links them to this, which then of course links them to other things that they can find on the website. I think that's a good idea. Then we don't have, again, yet another set of wording that is, again, different potentially from what we have. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, I will do that. I don't know, Greg, have you come on the line by chance? And I should ask, just for the minutes, has anyone else joined the meeting after 5 that we did not catch you at the roll call?
I'm here, Laura. This is Lance Stout.
Okay, so we'll add that Lance joined a few minutes after that. Very good, thank you. Lance, I don't hear that Greg's on the line. Have you had a chance to talk to him? I know he had mentioned talking with the folks at the EDC and the Chamber of Commerce about making a quick presentation to them through their channel.
He talked to me very briefly one day back in December, and I think I mentioned that at the last meeting. So I don't know where he's at, if he's visited with Tom or not. I have not spoken to Greg on that. I did visit with our superintendent. He had mentioned also about possibly, getting some things to hand out to kids, but I did visit with Dr. Hurl this morning, and he said we cannot do that as a school district just because of past practice. It really opens us up to then anybody that wants to come and us be a distributor of certain things and handing things out in kids' backpacks. Sure. So we've never done that, and so I just wanted to share that with you and let you know that.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I can completely understand that. When you have to work within your own group's protocols and don't want to set precedent for something that that's not where you want to go. So I understand that. I did speak with Jody Krantz, who's with EDC and of course, closely with the chamber as well, a few weeks ago. And she said, yeah, we, just get us, give me a holler, give Tom Lesnick a holler to get on, an agenda of theirs, when they're having a presentation or something along those lines. To give a quick, presentation of that. So if it's okay with the group, I will go ahead and make those contacts and reach out to them.
I think that's great.
Is that okay? Okay. I didn't want to step on Greg's toes there, but like I said, I made that contact, and I know Beth is the, chamber president, I believe, of the board this year, chairman of the board. So, and she's a real estate agent. So I will, as I know her also as a friend, so I will reach out to them and get us going on that if that's good with the group.
Great.
Okay. Okay. And I'm also going to speak. I'm on the board of the Kansas City Public Library, representing independence at our Trails West branch. So I am going to see if we might be able to carry some brochures there at the facility. Of course, we don't have complete walk-in service right now, but there are people who do come in and out of there that we, once we have a little brochure, we could put it in there as well. And also I would reach out to Doug or Doug Cowan or Debbie over at CSL to see if maybe we can get something, like in the Blendwell, if they have a little area there, we could put some brochures. I'm pretty sure they do. We could get some out there as well to try to get some information disseminated, in the area. They're not quite in the district, but they're just north of that. So
that's good.
Okay. All right. I don't see any other old business on the agenda. Is there any new business to come before the group? Okay. Hearing none, our next meeting date is March 17th. There is no requirement to wear green because we cannot pinch each other over Zoom. However, if you are inviting in any green beer, we would ask that you wait until after our meeting. Might make it go a little smoother. Also, at this point, too, I am going to start monitoring that as we're kind of getting to this point where we're getting our information out and settling on all of our documents and wording and phrases, that we may not actually need that meeting. So Jordan and I will be in touch on that, and we'll be watching out for that to see if we do. But please put that on your calendar at this point for the third Wednesday of each month at 5 p.m. Unless we otherwise change our minds there. You all know how to reach me. Conrad, I will get you that Dropbox link box so you can get a chance to read up. And if there's nothing else to come before the committee, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I got a first from Paul.
Second.
From Karen. Very good. And as I always say, all in favor, say bye.
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 Stay well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.